Alright, ladies and gentlemen, a new Imaginarium Theater season is coming up. This time, the dev notes say that it'll feature Hydro, Anemo, and Cryo. For reas, anyone? We've all played Imaginarium Theater at this stage and know what to value and what to expect. So with that being said, today I aim to tell you the best characters to build in preparation for this upcoming Imaginarium Theater, and explain why these characters are worth your time. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. Just a quick note here, this video is going to target units that you've pulled for and maybe benched, or characters that you've just kind of left to collect dust. Obviously, Farina, Yalan, Shengcho, Noodles are going to be good for this Imaginarium season, but I want to shine a spotlight on some of the less loved characters that have great synergy with this game mode. Alright, let's go. As I've already got up on the screen here, Venti, my beloved. Imaginarium Theater is a very AoE-centric game mode, and as we all know, Venti is the king of AoE, so he's absolutely going to thrive with all the trash mobs about. He's historically worked very well in Freeze, Morgana anyone, and since we're entering a Freeze-based Imaginarium Theater season, I can see him having quite the formidable amount of use cases. Plus, you need multiple Anemos for Imaginarium Theater. You're going to use Kazuha twice, and then he's done. Not to mention how one of the things that people hate the most about Imaginarium Theater is the amount of resin required to even participate because of all the characters that you have to build. But Venti, he gets his job done with next to no resin investment, so he's a great choice in that regard. He ascends with energy recharge, and if you give him an energy recharge sands and an energy recharge weapon, that guy is going to be bursting off constantly. Not to mention how he gives 20 flat elemental energy back to party members that are the same element as what he has absorbed in his burst, so he can also serve as a battery of sorts. You can also build him on EM if you have poorly built characters in general, since then Venti will carry by doing lots of swirl damage, and since Imaginarium Theater's mobs are so weak, Venti's damage is honestly enough to handle it. 4-piece Viridescent Venerer is also strong boxable, and the only true investment you want in order to get Venti usable is just leveling him to 90. This is because the higher his level is, the larger mobs he is able to lift off of the floor and also deal more swirl damage to them. And it's also worth noting how Venti is going to have some really good synergies this season. Not just a bit of synergy, but proper synergy. For example, Venti is actually better than Kazuha for Scaramouche teams in heavy AoE. Now, if you don't believe me, either look it up or try it for yourself. I do want to specify this is for heavy AoE. And he also has really good synergy with Nervi, since Nervalet is able to hit within Venti's burst. And Morgana is an ancient synergy that's finally going to see the light of day again with the rise of Imaginarium Theater. Ayaka also quite likes Venti in AoE. Personally, I prefer using Kazuha with Ayaka because of the damage bonus, but Venti will definitely work. And Venti is just truly going to be in his element here, and considering how all you really have to do to truly make him work is just level him, yeah, I consider the lad to be worth your time. Now, all my regulars know that I usually dog on Ayato, and this is because I find that his flexibility oftentimes doesn't have a place in the game because he is almost always replaced by other modern Hydros, but in Imaginarium Theater, a lot of flexibility is fair game. He can apply Hydro on field while Ganyu's burst is up, or while Ayaka's burst is up for freeze, and can dry freeze without many issues pretty well on the whole. His damage may feel very low in the Abyss, but that's fine in Imaginarium Theater because the mobs aren't strong enough to worry about dealing the most DPS possible. He works anywhere you slot him, and because your teams are always such a mixed bag in Theater, this is such a good strength to have in this game mode. His main con with Theater is that he wants to be built like a DPS, so that's a good chunk of resin investment for you. He will easily work with most of his teammates this Theater season, and Ayato is also capable of driving Mono Hydro if you're interested. To me, all his Imaginarium value is packed in the fact that he will genuinely work wherever you place him, and if he wants to use a different on-fielder, then you can still utilize his burst for a bit of extra damage and Hydro application. Flexibility is something that Imaginarium Theater values a lot, so if you've benched him for a long time, well, now's a better time than ever to pick him right back up again. This might seem like a strange one, but hear me out. Chongyun is honestly not half bad, especially in a setting like Theater. This will be the freeze season, so you can take advantage of that by having Chongyun allow any of your characters to deal cryo-infused normals to keep up cryo application. The DPS floor required to clear Imaginarium Theater is so low, so this technique could be worth your time depending on the situation you're in and the team that you're stuck with. His burst also does pretty neat damage, not too shabby for a 4-star EVO, flavor. He's accessible as well, since he's a 4-star, so everybody can have a chance to build him if they have one copy. He'll work great in this freeze-centric theater season, and since he's a decent 4-star that I feel like gets overlooked oftentimes, I thought it'd be nice to shine a spotlight on him. Ganyu is a character who has definitely had her glory days put past her, but with the rise of Imaginarium Theater, she once again has a chance. The nice thing is that Ganyu is amazing in AoE, especially in freeze, which theater caters to quite a lot. And if you get stuck with a bad team, well, that's fine with Ganyu around, since she's famous for being an excellent solo carry thanks to how her charge attacks have infinite uptimes in terms of damage. Her burst is also nice to use since it can work off-field, so you can on-field with another unit. She's amazing in freeze teams, and paired with Venti, she has some very high AoE potential. She can also hold her ground against bosses very nicely, so she'll do well in those scenarios where you have to fight one big bad guy. She can play off-field if you simply don't enjoy her DPS playstyle, which is very nice, and with Imaginarium Theater demanding multiple kinds of DPSs, Ganyu is a very suitable pick. She's a DPS that is both flexible and competent, and being able to work in various different types of teams without having her damage utterly gimped into oblivion should she have to deal with a less than stellar comp is an amazing quality. So on the whole, unbench your Ganyu. Kokomi is going to be the backbone of many freeze teams in this season, one of the best Hydro applicators in all of freeze thanks to your Jellyfish's Hydro AoE. Otherwise, you could just run her as a great on-field healer for Farina in Mono Hydro, or she could just drive plenty of off-field units in general. She also has some neat buffing potential by holding Thrilling Tales and holding 4-piece Tenacity of the Millilith. Otherwise, 4-piece Clam is pretty nice, so she can contribute a bit of damage to the team, and it's actually going to matter a little more than you'd expect because of how weak the Imaginarium Theater mobs are. She can fit herself into many situations thanks to being both an on and off-field friendly character, and on the whole, she's a very comfortable unit who has all the versatility that you could ever want for Imaginarium Theater. Would recommend. Charlotte's a little underrated in my opinion. Pretty good cryo healer. The reason why I'm mentioning her is because of Nervalette. Nervy Charlotte Freeze is a good AoE team where you can mark enemies with Charlotte's cryo via her skill, and Nervy's Hydro Blasting from afar can keep enemies frozen and held in place. She also fits very well into freeze teams in general, and since Farina will be a very popular choice this season, especially considering how recently she was reran, Charlotte will be a perfect 4-star candidate to serve as a great and accessible Farina healer. She's also super easy to build, only requiring a hefty chunk of ER to burst off cooldown, and then some attack percent to boost up her healing. Her cryo application will also be pretty wanted if you're in a situation where she's the only cryo in the party. On the whole, very decent character and is well worth your time to build if you haven't already, since not only is she great within theater, but that nervy freeze team has great power within the abyss as well. Give it a spin if you haven't already. Oh god, spin to win mentioned. Barbara is good for similar reasons as to why Kokomi is good when it comes to talking about Farina. In Mono Hydro, if you use her skill and do normals on field and the occasional charge attack, she heals quite a good chunk of your whole party. Try to charge attack as much as you possibly can since that heals more than Barbara's regular normals. I don't recommend her so much for freeze because her Hydro application ring is so small, but she can be used as a cheap free-to-play option. I'm mostly recommending her right now because of how similar to Kokomi she is when driving Farina teams. Her C2 providing Hydro damage bonus to the active character when her skill is up is also pretty neat. On the whole, she's literally free and is also going to be on the starting cast list anyway, so it's not even like you have to build her to try her out. Perhaps consider giving her a spin this theater season. I kind of didn't care for Barbara much before, but in recent times I've been playing her more, and I honestly think she plays pretty decently. Since this is a heavily freeze bias season, of course I'm going to mention unbenching your Shenhe. I'm mentioning her last since she's a pretty niche 5-star that the majority of you most likely will not have unless you're a cryo mega simp, but she will undeniably be good for boosting up the power of whatever random cryo DPS you end up having to play. Shenhe is a great damage increase for cryos of any variety, so if you end up having to play with weaker cryo characters, then Shenhe is able to bring them up to snuff pretty nicely, and if you have your cryos well built, shoot, then this season is going to be quite the cakewalk for you since she'll push your cryos damage far beyond what's required to clear Imaginarium Theater at a baseline level. Not to mention how she's super easy to build. Slap a bunch of attack percent on ER on her, don't forget about the ER since a lot of people tend to, and you'll be good to go. Good unit. At the end of the day, Imaginarium Theater is going to have a lot of viable options and you'll be able to clear with whoever you'd like, but if you needed some advice on who exactly to unbench and take for a spin for this season, other than the obvious choices, then I'd say these are all my top picks. Remember to join my Discord, which will be linked down below in both the pinned comment and description, and my Twitter will also be be both in those places if you'd like to follow. You can also see my Ko-Fi in those areas as well, and consider joining my new channel memberships if you want some access to some cool emotes. More perks are coming soon. Other than that, follow my Twitch where I stream sometimes over at twitch.tv/JuiceChanYT if you want to catch me live. I'll also put a neat code with some little goodies and Mora and other stuff in the pinned comment and description of this video for you guys, so redeem that at your leisure. Hopefully this video was able to tell you who the best characters are to build for this upcoming Imaginarium Theater season. This has been Juice, signing out, and honestly man, I'm just happy I had a reason to talk about Venti again.